Mr. Watson here, and in this video we're going to look at evaluation tests for aerobic capacity. So first of all, if aerobic capacity is an important component of fitness for a performer, it's essential that a baseline test is performed to ensure training programs are designed correctly, and as we know from the principles of training, mid and post tests also allow progressions to be monitored to ensure adaptations are occurring. So on the screen, as you'll see, is we have 4 example tests of aerobic capacity. So in the principles of training unit, when I gave you a little recap, the only one I put on there was the bleep test, the multi-stage fitness test. So I'm not going to talk about that one because we did talk about that in the last unit. And with all of these tests here, I am going to provide links to videos so you can watch some of the tests being carried out. Okay, so let's start with direct gas analysis. So the advantages and disadvantages are there on the screen for you to see, and I'm just going to explain how the test works. So this is an accurate test. It's one of the best tests to do to get a measurement of VO2 max. A subject performs continuous exercise at progressive intensities to exhaustion. Now, expired air is captured by a mask with a tube connected to a flow meter and a gas analyzer. Okay, so basically you're on a bike and you're wearing this mask, and when you breathe out, there's something capturing this air. Now, the relative concentrations of oxygen and carbon dioxide in expired air to inspired air are measured. So they're looking at them concentrations from expired to inspired. Results can be graphed against intensity, and using a simple calculation, VO2 max can be determined. Okay, so that's a bit of information on how the test works, but I am going to put a link so you get a visual representation of what that looks like. Okay, but key thing there, it's a maximal test to exhaustion. Okay, let's look at another maximal test. We have the Cooper run, otherwise known as the 12-minute run. So subject performs continuous running to achieve a maximum distance within 12 minutes. So another maximal test to exhaustion, but this is only a prediction of VO2 max. It's not a direct measurement like the direct gas analysis. So this is usually performed on a 400-meter running track with cones placed at intervals. Now, at the end of the 12 minutes, the test ends and the total distance covered is recorded. So obviously them cones will probably be placed at 100 meters. So you can see the distance covered. This is a maximum intensity test, like I've mentioned. And again, using a simple calculation, it predicts VO2 max. Okay, I'm sure you've all probably attempted a Cooper run, but maybe not on a 400-meter track. Okay, and then we have the Queen's College Step Test. So this is a submaximal test. Okay, so this is different. It's not going to maximal. So what happens here is the subject performs continuous stepping on and off a box, usually around 41 centimeters high, and they do this for a period of 3 minutes, so quite a short test. Steps will be taken at a rate of 24 steps per minute for men and 22 steps per minute for women. Heart rate is taken 5 seconds after completing the test, and the heart rate is taken for a total of 15 seconds. The heart rate recovery is used to predict VO2 max with a simple equation. Okay, so this is a submaximal test. Now, what I'd like you to do is, what's not on the screen here is the PWC 170 test, which is another submaximal test, but a test we need to know for the Cambridge syllabus. So what I'd like you to do is go away and research and jot down the advantages and disadvantages of that test and how it works. That can either be a link to a video, a voice recording of you explaining how it works. And that's what I'd like you to do. And do remember, for these 4 tests, I am going to provide a link so that you can watch a video to see how they work. Now, one thing I do want to mention is, with these tests that are maximal, okay, the health of the subject, the person, the individual, that must be screened. Now, what that means is you need to get them to complete a PAR-Q. This is a physical activity readiness questionnaire. So you must ask questions about whether they have any underlying health issues before you make them take a maximal test. So obviously with schools tend to have this information on file about whether you have any conditions, and teachers are already aware. So that acts as your PAR-Q. But for individuals you don't know, it's essential you ask them to fill in a PAR-Q before you get them to do a maximal test. And in any of these tests, they should be informed that they can stop the test at any time. What we're going to look at now is some normative data. Now, you'll be familiar with normative data from the action plan at AS level. So here's just a reminder of some of the normative data available for aerobic capacity, because we only looked at the Cooper run in our action plan. So there's just some data, and we are going to complete some of these tests so that you can get your score and you can get a prediction of your VO2 max and see how it compares to this normative data and maybe some of the athletes from the first presentation. Okay, so that is aerobic capacity and evaluation tests. Thank you.